Okay, I need you to answer one question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Because apparently humanity has spent thousands of years arguing about this instead of doing literally anything useful. We invented computers, landed on the moon, made Wi-Fi, and somehow we're still beefing over breakfast. But today, we're ending the debate. And I'm warning you right now, the answer is going to make the chicken extremely unemployed. The egg came first. And no, I'm not saying that because I had a philosophical awakening after eating scrambled eggs. I'm saying it because evolution basically exposed the chicken as a fraud. Let's start with the obvious problem. If a chicken comes from an egg, then surely you need a chicken to make the egg, right? Sounds logical. Chicken makes egg. Egg makes chicken. Chicken makes egg. We have created the world's dumbest infinite loading screen. It's basically two Pokémon staring at each other waiting for someone to evolve. But here, where your brain needs to stop buffering, the question secretly depends on what you mean by chicken egg. If you mean an egg laid by a chicken, then obviously the chicken has to come first. Chicken exists. Chicken lays egg. Congratulations, you solved biology. But if you mean an egg containing a chicken, then the egg absolutely came first. And evolution has receipts. Here's the ancient lore. Chickens did not just randomly spawn one morning like some feathered Minecraft mob. Chickens evolved from earlier birds, and those birds evolved from even earlier birds, and those evolved from other animals. And if you keep going back far enough, eventually you end up with creatures that look absolutely nothing like the chicken you know today. No fluffy white feathers. No dramatic little chicken walk. No screaming at 6 a.m. because apparently the sun personally offended them. Instead, you get generations of creatures slowly changing over enormous amounts of time. This is evolution. And evolution does not work like, okay, everybody line up. Today, Steve is going to become a chicken. It works through tiny changes that accumulate across generations. A population of animals has variation. Some differences come from mutations and genetic recombination. Those differences can sometimes affect survival and reproduction. Over huge amounts of time, populations change. And eventually, after enough changes, you can get a new species. Basically, nature is running a character customization screen for millions of years, and nobody can press undo. So imagine we go back to some prehistoric chicken ancestor. It's not a chicken. It's chicken DLC. It looks like a bird, probably acts like a bird, and is getting absolutely 0 likes on Instagram. But it reproduces by laying eggs. One day, 2 of these not quite chickens reproduce, and inside one of their offsprings, egg cells, some genetic change happens. That egg develops into a baby that is slightly different from its parents. Not dramatically different. It doesn't hatch and go, greetings, peasants. I am now a chicken. No, it's just slightly different. Maybe its body shape changes. Maybe its feathers are different. Maybe its genes are different. And over many, many generations, these changes accumulate. Eventually, there was a population of birds that was basically chicken adjacent. And then one particular egg contained the first animal that we could reasonably call a modern chicken. That means the egg containing the first chicken existed before the first chicken hatched from it. Checkmate, poultry. And this isn't just some technicality. It's actually a great example of how species work. Nature doesn't draw a line in the sand and announce, "Attention, everyone. This baby is now a different species." There isn't a little evolutionary referee standing there with a whistle going, "Bro, you are no longer a prehistoric bird. Congratulations, you are officially chicken." Species arise gradually. The difference between generations can be tiny. But after enough generations, those tiny changes can add up to something enormous. Think about it like a massive game of telephone. The first person whispers a sentence. The next person repeats it. Then the next. Then the next. Nobody changes the whole sentence on purpose, but tiny differences creep in. After thousands of people, the final sentence can sound completely different from the original. Evolution is kind of like that, except the telephone is DNA. The players are generations, and the consequences are significantly more dramatic. Now you might be thinking, okay, but if the first chicken came from an egg, what laid that egg? Excellent question, tiny philosopher. The answer is a bird that was extremely close to being a chicken, but technically wasn't a modern chicken. And this is where your brain starts throwing furniture. Imagine the mother bird. She's standing there like, "I am definitely not a chicken." Then she lays an egg. Inside that egg, thanks to genetic variation, the embryo develops slightly differently. That baby grows up, and we call it a chicken. So the mother wasn't necessarily a chicken herself. She was basically chicken 0.99. The egg contained chicken 1. And before you say, "But bro, isn't that just chicken semantics?" Yes, and also no, because this is literally how evolution works. Every species alive today has ancestors that were not exactly the same species. Humans did not come from a random monkey that woke up one day and said, "I'm done being a monkey." Humans and modern monkeys share common ancestors, and populations diverged over time. Your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparent did not look like you. They were not walking around in jeans complaining about their Wi-Fi. They were a completely different human from a different time. The same thing happened with chickens. Modern chickens have ancestors that were not modern chickens. The transition was gradual. There was no magical chicken update 2. And here, where it gets even more ridiculous, eggs themselves are way older than chickens. Like, insanely older. Reptiles and other egg-laying animals were laying eggs long before chickens existed. Dinosaurs laid eggs. Ancient reptiles laid eggs. Fish have eggs. Amphibians have eggs. Even some animals that look absolutely nothing like birds use eggs to reproduce. And guess what chickens are? Birds. And guess what birds are? Dinosaurs. Yes, you heard me correctly. The chicken is basically a tiny modern dinosaur with anger issues. Birds are living dinosaurs, specifically the surviving lineage of theropod dinosaurs. So when you eat a chicken nugget, you are technically eating a dinosaur nugget. Think about that next time someone says dinosaurs went extinct. No, they didn't. One of them is in your freezer. So eggs were already around for an absurdly long time before chickens existed. The egg is not some invention of the chicken industry. The egg was out here doing numbers millions of years before your average rooster was even a twinkle in evolution's eye. But wait, there is another plot twist. People sometimes imagine an egg as this magical object that can only be produced by chickens. Nope. An egg is basically a reproductive structure. Lots of animals produce eggs. The chicken just happens to be one of the most famous egg-producing creatures because humans have spent thousands of years eating them with toast. And this brings us to another hilarious possibility. What if we ask, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And the answer is just egg by an absolutely disrespectful margin. Because if we define egg broadly, eggs existed hundreds of millions of years before chickens. The chicken is the new kid. The egg has seniority. The egg is basically looking at the chicken like, you just got here. The chicken is like, I'm literally the reason you exist. The egg is like, brother, I was here before your entire bloodline. And the chicken has no response. Now, technically, there's an interesting philosophical problem here. If you define a chicken egg as an egg specifically laid by a chicken, then the chicken has to come first. But if you define it as an egg containing a chicken embryo, then the egg comes first. So part of the debate is actually about definitions. Humanity has spent centuries arguing over a question that can change depending on what we mean by one word. Classic human behavior. It's like asking, what came first, the smartphone or the phone? And then discovering that you accidentally started a 3-hour argument about definitions in a Discord server. But from an evolutionary perspective, the answer is pretty clear. Eggs existed long before chickens. And even the first egg that contained what we would call a chicken would have been laid by an animal that was almost, but not quite, a modern chicken. So the egg came first. The chicken was literally born into the job. It didn't create the position. It just filled the vacancy. And that's the real brain rot truth. The chicken did not invent the egg. The egg was already in the lore. The chicken just pulled up later and said, yo, can I get some credit? No, you get none. The egg came first. In fact, the egg has been around so long that if the egg had a LinkedIn profile, it would say, experience, 300 million years. Meanwhile, the chicken would show up with one internship and an unexplained gap in employment. So next time someone asks you, which came first, the chicken or the egg, don't panic. Don't start yelling. Don't throw a chair. Just look them directly in the eyes and say, the egg. And when they say, but what laid the egg? Tell them, a bird that wasn't quite a chicken yet. And when they say, but how did that bird exist? tell them evolution, and when they say, but where did evolution come from? Just leave. You have one. Because the real answer is that life has been changing and reproducing for an absolutely ridiculous amount of time. Chickens are just one tiny branch on the enormous tree of life. Eggs came first by millions upon millions of years, and chickens showed up much later. So there you have it. The ancient mystery is solved. The egg came first. The chicken was late. The egg has seniority. The chicken is an egg employee. And technically, the chicken is a dinosaur with feathers who spends most of its day eating crumbs off the floor. Humanity can finally move on to the next great mystery. Why does the chicken cross the road? Actually, never mind. We already know. It was trying to get to the egg. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.